Guys, welcome back. Now, today is going to be something a little more different than what I'm usually doing on my channel. So today, for those of you who are, new to the whole horror genre, or you're literally a horror junkie and you can't get enough screaming and terror and enough gore to make your head spin, this is the right place you're at right now. So, today I'm going to explain to you guys psychological horror and how the genre has changed the entire way of how us horror junkies have viewed video games, films, and all that other good stuff. So, to start off, we're going to talk about mainly the the basic information of psychological horror. Now, basically, psycho horror is the subgenre of horror in combination with psychological fiction, which relies on the mental, emotional, and often psychological states of characters to either frighten, disturb, or unsettle readers, viewers, and players. The genre frequently overlaps what is related to another subgenre of horror known as psychological thriller, and it often uses mystery elements and characters with unstable, unreliable, or disturbed psychological states to enhance, the suspense, the drama, the action, and of course the overall horror of the game. And the plot to provide an overall unpleasant yet unsettling and mostly distressing atmosphere. Now, most games don't have that kind of level of fear, but mostly the most credit to the one game that's been credited for utilizing this genre in such a proper format would be Silent Hill, which you can also, I will definitely speak about that later, but mostly Silent Hill has been credited for the most popular video game in its time and currently to very much use the whole context of fear and disturbing images to the point of where gore and fear are its basic concepts. Other games include Outlast, The Evil Within, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Fear, The Last Door, Dead Space, and all kinds of good stuff like that. But technically, what I'm explaining here is that if you are in fact a horror junkie, or you don't necessarily know what you're getting into when you play a game that involves psychological horror or horror in general, this is what I'm going to do. First of all, when you're playing a psychological horror game, the best thing you want to do is to always remain calm, because 9 times out of 10, if you're not fresh into this whole psycho horror game, you're going to end up getting yourself scared to the point of where you're not going to want to play the game anymore, or you're going to develop some type of disorder. Now, I'm not saying that shit doesn't happen. That kind of thing does happen to people, and being honest as I am about the situation, The Evil Within and The Evil Within 2, which is scheduled to be on Friday the 13th of this year, is probably the closest atonement to that. Now, I say The Evil Within mainly because that's basically what the topic of this is. This is about The Evil Within 2. And a lot of players who enjoyed, the sheer horrifyingly graphic, the monsters, the mysteries, the puzzles, that really just got you wrapped up into the point of where, am I really doing this? So, here are the rules when you're playing psychological horror. Number 1, always remain calm. Regardless of your setting in your video game, you're always going to want to remain calm, because in all honesty, if this is going to be a game that you're going to play as your first horror game or anything like that, you might as well just establish the fact that you're not ready for it. I would definitely always keep something, keep something close to you, something that calms you down, always keep yourself, keep your head together. Number 2, keep the lights on. Now, I say that strictly because a lot of people don't really get it. When you're playing games like The Evil Within, you really, 90% of players that aren't horror fans don't necessarily want to play the game in the dark. I'm one of those horror junkies that'll play that joint in the dark. I play that at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I play it at the dead of night and all that other good stuff. But the real thing about it is that The Evil Within is literally where it's going to test your psychological state of mind. And most horror games like that, especially that come off, the heels of Silent Hill, and other games like Resident Evil and Dead Space, there are plenty of games out there that can seriously go down that road. But that's not what this is about either. Number 3, you never want to not read the warnings on any horror video game. Now, I say that, and I cannot stress this enough, strictly because when The Evil Within first came out, a lot of people were, complaining that there weren't any warnings or, any ways to die down the gore on the game itself, when in all honesty, that's a bold-faced lie, because when The Evil Within first came out, the game even says it has an epilepsy warning. So if you're really not about that horror life, don't act like you're about it, because you'll just get your shit scared to death. Now, number 4, and the final thing. Just enjoy yourself. Horror in its own is the one thing in the whole context of film, TV, video games, and practically everyday life that has actually played a more prominent role in everyone's lives. If you really are, you're not ready to play a game in such a high caliber that involves you staring down the face of a monster that could easily kill you, even though the monster itself is not real, this is what The Evil Within does. Rather, I take that back. This is what psychological horror does. It goes down a road where it dives so deep into your subconscious that processing the fact that you're in a video game, not in real life, is actually going to take every bit of your sanity to just control. Now, I won't even sit there and lie that I'm a stable person when it comes to horror. I'm one of those people that will enjoy horror to the point of where I watch horror 7 days a week. Okay? I watch horror 24/7. You understand what I mean? So, I've necessarily never been scared of, the horror genre, somebody getting split in half by a giant saw or something like that. That kind of stuff excites me, to be honest with you. But the real unsettling part about psychological horror is that it actually brings out the much darker side of your personality. So if you're really this kind and collected, well down to earth person that, has their dark thoughts but never acts on them, video games that involve psychological horror will most definitely test you on that one. Because if you go on YouTube, there's plenty of people who play horror games, and I mean, they just get their kicks off it. You understand what I mean? But I just wanted to go ahead and just explain that because, like I said, I'm saying this strictly because The Evil Within did have its controversy, about people, having seizures and people, going into having disorders because of their fears of the game or them thinking the shit is real and all that other stuff. Yeah, but most games have that effect depending on how good they are, and for the fact that Evil Within was as good as it was, that kind of thing comes with its own little problem. But like I said, explaining this would take forever, but that's just the gist of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, comment, and I will definitely get back to you guys with more. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. And stay afraid, my friends.